Well, good evening. Good evening. Welcome here to another Restore Live on a Wednesday evening. And I would just like to ask you, I mean, if you can go to Restore UK, the page, and if you can share this broadcast far and wide. And also we're broadcasting to the British Unionist People's Voice. Also, we're broadcasting to many closed groups. There are people that shares this platform in the background. And it's only really down to you, the people that comes to follow us, that we reach so many big numbers, let's just say. On Monday evening, for a small platform, we were speaking to 2,500 people thereabouts, and some evenings it's even more. So again, we've got to take our hats off to the people that follow this page and share it far and wide for and on behalf of everyone, because this is not just our platform. This is not just my platform. This is not just the platform of the people who work in the background. This is a platform for the people, for the British Unionist people in Northern Ireland, and built on behalf of the people. And need I say it, also with your money is how that things have went, because so many people have supported us over the past, whether that be purchasing the small badges that we sell, or even people has literally put some money into the pot to help us do exactly what it is we do. So again, I really thank you for doing that. Now, we're going to be talking to a man very, very shortly, a man called Billy Dickson, a man who has fought tirelessly over the years for and on behalf of worthy projects, let's just say. And he comes from the village area, from my recollection. He'll correct me if I'm wrong whenever he comes on, but he comes from the village area of South Belfast. And right now he's involved in a battle to save what's known as the Boyne Bridge. The Boyne Bridge is it's at the end of Sandy Row in Belfast, and we all know Sandy Row. That great, proud and patriotic British Unionist place in Northern Ireland. And there's not too many people right across the United Kingdom that hasn't heard the name Sandy Row. And whenever we come to talk to Billy, Billy will tell us all about not just the Boyne Bridge, but growing up as a young lad in where he grew up, and how that he's seen the place changed, I guess, over the years. So just really to start this evening, what I wanted to do is that about a year ago, a good friend of mine, a good friend that helps in the background here, a man called Jim Werner, he wrote a poem, and the poem was so powerful that, I had to get my finger in the pie, let's just say. And I said to Jim, do you mind if I alter this poem and if I, add a bit to the end? Because it was such a poem. It was so powerful. I really thought that I wanted to add a wee bit to the end, because there was, in my view, I know that he says, what exactly how things are happening right now in our country. And this was about a year ago that Jim wrote this. He didn't really, get into the depths in terms of what it is that politicians need to be doing in order to get us out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off. Now, I hope right now, if this stream if it's buffering, let me know, because what we will do, if it's buffering, we can drop a platform and we can tell people, because we're broadcasting to many different platforms. So if you find it buffering, let me know, and what we'll do is we'll soon drop a platform, and then we can tell people to come and visit and watch from somewhere else. So again, I'm going to read from this poem, and listen very carefully, because this is such a powerful piece of work, let's just say. Now, I'm not talking about the bit that I done at the end, but certainly what it was that Jim actually started. So, I can't help but wonder why so many people had to die for being British in our own land, murdered by cards from their evil hand. The IRA crept back to their bed after leaving so many people dead. A soldier, a cop, a father, a son, a woman, a child, just anyone. But the Unionist people, they did not lie down, fought and defended the red hand and the crown. We stood proud, ready and able, but the IRA cried to come to the table. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise, built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce, the guns are still there, and London afraid of another bomb scare. Appeasement after appeasement, day after day, provosts and government still getting their way. And our two big parties, well, what can I say? They are sitting in stormont with the IRA, not listening to the people who put them in place. They ask for support, then they lie to your face. A united Unionist party, some say we need, but there's too much corruption, lies and greed. I can't help but wonder why so many people, they had to die for being British in our own land. You can never shake a terrorist hand. Think of our country, the red hand on the crown. Listen to the people and stop letting us down. Our leaders have blown the chance to make things right. The whole of unionism, the people, we must unite. So we reach out again with offer of partnership. No time for politicians hell-bent on dictatorship. No puppets, no lackeys, our people deserve better. We will not be sucked in promises in letter. Meaningful and proactive is the only game in town. We long for a day when politicians stop letting us down. You have one more chance at putting things right, but this time we demand you stick to the fight. A roadmap must be drawn, agreed by everyone. No hierarchy, no pulling rank is exactly what must be done. An army of people must be put together with weapons of words which will remain and abide forever. United we stand, divided we definitely fall. What a powerful piece of work. As I say, Jim Werner put that together last year, and I put the finishing touches to it. And the reason why I thought that it needed finishing touches, because, you know, when is the time to stop trying to bring people together? When is the time to stop trying to unite unionism? When is the time to stop appealing to those that say they are leaders? When is the time to stop? Well, I believe that never is the time to stop, because even if we have to trail them people kicking and screaming to get in line with the people and to do the right thing, well, then that's what must be done. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring Billy Dickson in. We're going to talk about the Boyne Bridge. And then what we will be doing is that we'll come back. We're going to do this here for roughly an hour, talking to Billy. And then what we'll be doing is that we'll be closing the stream down, and then we're going to come back for, say, another 45 minutes, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things happening in our politics today. There's a lot of spin, swindle, and fudge happening right now. And really and truly, we need these politicians, these people that think that we don't see what they're doing. Well, we need them to wind themselves back, reel themselves in, and get behind what it is that needs to be done in order to save British unionism here in Northern Ireland. So without any further ado, what I would like to do is I'm just going to play a little video, and it's a video which relates to the Boyne Bridge and the getting behind the project to save this. This is, I mean, it's a piece of our heritage, a piece of our history, which really needs to be saved. And you know, what we really need to do is as people, we need to get behind Billy Dickson, and we need to get behind the people behind Billy Dickson, the people that's involved in trying to save this bridge. And we all need to put these politicians under so much pressure that they get up off their knees and they begin to fight back for and on behalf of British unionism. We're not asking for anything that shouldn't be done. We're not asking for anything that out of the ordinary. All we are asking for is our representatives to do the representing, and we'll do the voting, because without the representation, well, it follows that we won't be voting. We'll be voting for somebody else. And that's what has to be done. And it pains me to say it, but we may have to fight with our own politicians in order that we turn the corner, in order that we can put things right. Because right now, all I see is, for example, I see Diane Dodds today. She was in a North-South meeting, a North-South body. You know, when that is the only meaningful, proactive protest that can be made is for the DUP to withdraw all support from North-South institutions, from anything that flows from the Belfast Agreement, until that Belfast Agreement starts working in the way that it was intended. In other words, delivering equality for and to every single person living in Northern Ireland, and not excluding British unionists in any way, shape or form. So I'm just going to play a little promo, and whenever we come back, we'll have Billy on the screen. I'll say a few words, we'll introduce Billy, and then we'll start talking about the Boyne Bridge.
was a morning in July in 1690. Two great armies were converging on the river Boyne. On the left you had King James of Scotland with 26,000 men. James arrived at the Boyne first and set up his great tents and cannons, and he waited. On the other side you had King William, Prince of Orange, with 30,000 men. As William rode through the narrow country lanes of Ireland on that hot sunny July morning in 1690, he was armed with the latest in artillery that day. Finally, William too arrived at the Boyne and set up camp and prepared to do battle. Then at 8 o'clock in the morning of the 1st of July, 1690, the Battle of the Boyne started. The fighting lasted throughout the day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. "1,500 men were killed on that day. James fled the battlefield and William, Prince of Orange, was victorious. Sound your drum and flash your sword. Wade into King James's ford. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, or we'll die for our Isle, William. On Boyne's great shore, that glorious day, 30,000 that beat their way. For Orange we fight, and for Orange we'll say, we'll die for our Isle, William. Sound your drum, flash your sword, wade into King James's ford. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, or we'll die for our Isle, William.
So very welcome to you, Billy, on our screen on Restore UK. There's good numbers this evening, Billy, so they're all tuning in to hear about the Boyne Bridge. And just before that I bring you in, what I would like to do is that, just like to pump this up on the screen. I have a photo of myself and my granddaughters on this bridge, and I didn't even know the history of it. So you've got a burden on your shoulders, Billy, to be able to tell the history of this bridge. So, Billy, would you just like to tell people, before we start on to the Boyne Bridge, and I know that you're a man that has fought for many things over the years from within your own area, could you just tell me where it was that you grew up, or tell the live stream, where it was that you grew up, or where it was you were born, and why it is that you felt the need to become involved in some issues of community concern, let's just say. So over to you, Billy. Just introduce yourself to the live chat, and off you go.
John, first of all, thank you very much indeed for allowing me on your show, which I've been watching with interest for some time now. I'm very impressed, and hope that you continue on raising the various issues. My family roots are Sandy Row. My grandfather, 92 Matilda Street. My grandfather in the First World War, my father in the Second World War, in the 8th Army. When they came back from the war, or as my mother would say, the war, came back from the war, they got a house at Greencastle in North Belfast, and so it was a number of years there, and then they moved back to Sandy Row, 122 Utility Street. So that's where I was brought up. And one of my neighbours, of course, was Bobby Stoker. He became a Ulster Unionist councillor. So we were more or less brought up together in the same street. And so we have a lot of happy memories. We obviously hadn't much money, and if we wanted to get to the pictures or anything else, we had to go out and earn our own money. We maybe looked after the pigs at the top of the street, cleaning pigs, and we actually went out and collected skins and got a shilling or a half a crown or whatever. So that's and then we would, of course, our sport was really, our fun was out in the street before the televisions and all arrived. And we had the Maple Street Hill, and I'm sure that our listeners are all familiar with this. And to us, that was our Wembley, the Maple Street Hill. But then we've seen the changes. By the way, just about the Boyne Bridge, used to go to the Coliseum, the picture house there. But a lot of people remember that. And then I remember running over the Boyne Bridge, and of course, the child's mind. I was whoever the hero was in the film that we were watching, and run over the Boyne Bridge, acting the part of the hero and so on. So a lot of happy memories. And the Maple Street Hill, of course, we used to have races up to where the nursery is and still is, and I really enjoyed the running. In fact, I ended up being a school champion in Kelvin's school. I remember being run against Stanmore Academy. We won the 440, the 880, and I was in the winning relay team. And so I really enjoyed my life in Sandy Row, and all the neighbours and so on. And sad to say that most of my neighbours have died, and most of my friends now have died. I've got that sort of the age where you start to see them all dying off. But I was very much involved, very, very briefly, I was very much involved in church work. I became a Christian when I was 15 years of age, and I got very much involved in church work. Primrose Street Methodist Church, I was involved there. Unfortunately, it came down under redevelopment. I was very much involved in the Emmanuel Mission in Welwood Street. And this is linked to the whole issue of the Boyne Bridge, by the way. Welwood Street, Charles Street South, Hope Street, that was a whole community. And this is where I started to see things happening that I wasn't happy about. Where the houses were slowly bricked up. And I had a little group in the Emmanuel Mission called the Adventurers Club. And I'm sure some people are watching this were members of the Adventurers Club. And we had great times, but the numbers started to go down and down and down. And the community actually died. I was basically left with about 5 children in the meeting. And we decided then we would start a work up at Donegal Avenue. And we went up to Donegal Avenue, started to work there. Now, on the political side, I was a former member of the Protestant Unionist Party. And I was delighted to be a member of the Protestant Unionist Party because I felt, even though I was a young fella at the time, I felt that the Ulster Unionist Party had let us down badly, had let us down big time. And when I was asked to stand as a Protestant Unionist, I was delighted. And I could mention people's names here, but I don't want to mention the names in case it may embarrass them, or maybe they don't want me to mention the names. But there's people in Sandy Row who really sacrificed a lot. They, in those days, if you went against the Ulster Unionists, it wasn't an easy thing to do. And there was people who provided support for me and helped me, and actually ended up topping the poll for St. George's. And I can go on and on. And then, of course, I seen the downgrade. And the
Billy,
downgrade
can I just ask you there before you go on, because this is
yes,
something really, really significant here. Just tell the people who the Protestant Unionist Party were. I mean, and what year roughly did they come around, and what happened to them? I mean, why did they not exist anymore?
well, this is during Terence O'Neill's time, and we were an organisation called Ulster Protestant Volunteers. And so some of you might remember the Ulster Protestant Volunteers with the sashes and so on. And we had some, if I was to tell everything, John, I would be here all night. I have to write a book, but we had some interesting times as the Ulster Protestant Volunteers. Then the Ulster Protestant Volunteer divisions then eventually formed themselves into the Protestant Unionists, the Protestant Unionist Party. And the Protestant Unionist Party, it's hard to believe this, John, but you see in Sandy Row, the, the Protestant Unionist supporters were going around the streets canvassing. And what they were doing, they were playing hymns and choruses, gospel choruses. This is hard to believe. But whenever we had our Protestant Unionist meetings, we always started off with prayer and Bible reading. And so it was very much maybe closely linked, perhaps, with the Free Presbyterian Church and that movement of Ian Paisley and so on. And of course, everyone had to go, everyone's stritters, and we all know what happened eventually. Everyone did go until the big man himself was in the main seat. And of course, when he got into that position, then he brought in the terrorists into government. And so that's a long story in itself. But the Protestant Unionist Party, I was delighted to be a member of that. But what happened was they felt that they need to have a broader base. So they formed the Democratic Unionist Party. I don't know if you remember Desmond Bowl and all, they were all involved in this. And so they formed the Protestant Unionist, Democratic Unionist Party. And I remember being at one of the first meetings, and I seen this man up at the front standing as if he was in charge of everything. I'd never seen the man in my life before. And his name is Peter Robinson. Never seen him before. And so there's all these different ones suddenly come in. And the whole character, the whole emphasis on certain, especially biblical issues, Christian issues, became weakened. Lord's Day issues and all started to become weak. And that sort of was a progression right along. When certain people seen that this was a ticket to advance politically, they joined the DUP, and the bigger it got, the weaker it got. And I just want to have to say this, John, to you. This is very important. One of the biggest issues was the school issue, where the government was closing schools, and it was that time there was the boycott of meetings and boycott of meetings with ministers, and the education boards and the health boards and everything else. Well, some of the school closures were being discussed, including Park Parade, Calvin, and I said to Ian Paisley up at the Stormont, and Jim Allister was at that meeting too, by the way. And I said to Dr. Paisley, I said, Dr. Paisley, I says, if we don't attend the education board meetings, they'll close Park Parade and they'll close Calvin. And he says it has to be done for Ulster. I said, it has to be done for Ulster? To close Calvin? Do you not realise what that would mean to the Sandy Road people? Do you not know what it'll mean? And then as time went on, Sammy Wilson actually said that Calvin could be used as a fourth college for West Belfast, and there could be a mixed college And that even infuriated me even more. So what I did, John, I organised a meeting of parents, and we went to the minister, Mawiney. That just remembered his name there, Mawiney, and said, try to save Calvin. And I thought because he had a brethren background, maybe I could appeal to him and say to him that the last thing that area needed was the closing of the secondary school, and especially the Roden Street area. If that school closes, the people have been forced out of their homes. The Protestant people have been forced out of their homes. Maybe not windows smashed and all that sort of, but and they have been made to feel unwelcome, and they just felt that they had to go. And so the Protestant population started to move out, and then there was a few attacks directed at the school and near the school. And so certain people said, oh, we'll have to get the school closed. And I said, no, keep the school until such times as things stabilise. And then maybe we can look at maybe a new school or whatever. But in the meantime, fight for Calvin. So I actually organised a protest about to save Calvin. But the DUP said, boycott the meetings. Boycott the meetings. And the result being that we lost Park Parade, we lost Calvin. I don't know what other schools we lost. But do you know something, John? And any Sandy Road person who's listening to this tonight, watching you tonight, watching us tonight, any Sandy Road people will tell you that we have never got over that. In fact, I was talking to a man at the door of the day, and he was telling me about the school and about there's no state school in the area at all. And we have suffered big time because of that. And that's one of the things that really has hurt me. I've been involved. I could give you a list of all the different campaigns, but I can tell you one thing, John. You know that beats us and beats the Unionist and Loyalist Protestant people all the time. Division. Divide and conquer. And you know, at every issue that I've been involved with, the authorities, speculators, whoever involved in the proposals, they get people within the community to back them. Now, that's just actually happened to me with, as far as I'm concerned, with the Boyne Bridge. Nobody in their right mind would support the proposals to demolish the Boyne Bridge and allow all the land either side to be given over for speculators, for building apartments and so on. And especially a continuation along the Linfield Road with more apartments. Sandy Row, in 10 years' time, maybe even a lot less, with all these apartments going up, many of, of course, not related to the Boyne Bridge, but there will be apartments built at the Boyne Bridge when the Boyne Bridge goes. I hope it doesn't go, but if it goes, there'll be apartments. Now, that will mean, I've done the sums, John. I would say that the people living in the apartments will outnumber the people living in the traditional family housing. Now, the big question is, who's going to live? Who will be living in these apartments? What political persuasion will they have? And you know, John, this is going to be a tragedy. I may not be here. I'll probably be dead, right? But what a tragedy. Whenever it'll be announced, as a result of today's election, the first SDLP or the first Sinn Féin or the first Alliance councillor, councillors have been elected, and Sandy Row area is no longer Unionist, but Sinn Féin or Nationalist or Republican. Do you know, John, people would say, how could that possibly be? Well, I just say to them, and I'll speak to the people from the Grosvenor Road area now. Did you think all them streets in the Grosvenor Road with their orange arches did you ever think the day would come when it would be Sinn Féin Republican? Did you? When you paraded up the Grosvenor Road with your bands and your banners of all those Grosvenor Road lodges and all, did you ever think the day would come when you wouldn't even be allowed to go up the Grosvenor Road and it would be all Republican? Did you think that? Well, that's the same as Sandy Row now. I'm saying to the people of Sandy Row, if you stop waking up and stop these apartments and stop taking away our traditions and our built heritage, which is the Boyne Bridge, if you don't do it now, well, you're gonna lose Sandy Row. And I can tell you, James Young, I think, John, I don't know if you heard that one about James Young, and James Young, I think it was a dream. I hope I got the person right. It was a dream, and it was about Sandy, I think it was about Sandy Row, and he was, in this dream, Sandy Row became all Republican. And it was a nightmare, John. It's a nightmare. And in the dream, apparently, he said, what about Linfield? Oh, Linfield's still going. Oh, thank goodness for that. Oh, it's still going. And it just won the Sam Maguire.
Yeah, as I say, very, very good. I like that there, and I wasn't waiting for that punchline. I've just won the song. And look, I mean, that's the way that things are going, Billy. I mean, and that's not just happening here. I mean, I remember writing a piece. I do a bit of writing also, and I remember writing a piece just a few years ago, and I called it a corporate takeover bid by proxy, whereby that what happens is that a lot of new people are moved into areas, and then they steal the vote. And they steal the vote in a way that the indigenous folk, I mean, they don't have a look in, and their traditions and their past and their heritage haven't been protected. And that is that's a huge indictment on our politicians. And I mean, I think you just explained in how even in the early days that really nothing has changed. But we've got to such a serious state today is that we're in danger of losing not just our areas, but certainly and not our traditions and our history and our culture. But we're in danger right now of losing our part in the United Kingdom and also our country, because as part of this so-called New Ireland, if we ever get there, and believe me, we'll be fighting tirelessly in order that we don't go there. But as part of this, if this is the way that they want to treat people now, what would it not be like whenever we get to this so-called New Ireland, as they would call it? Billy, what I want to do is, and then we'll come back and we'll want to talk about the Boyne Bridge, but I want to play a little song, and this is a little song, and it's about the First World War, and and Sandy Row is actually mentioned on it. So again, we'll come back after the song and we'll start to talk about the Boyne Bridge and really the fight that you're having right now. And what we need to appeal to people, we really do, is to get behind Billy, to get behind the team in Sandy Row that's trying to do this here. And then we're going to also talk about how that it is that we can help province-wide, and how that it is that we will push this out right around the province. So over to the song, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Boyne Bridge. And by the way, Billy, so many good comments on there. We haven't had a let's just say live history, just like you've given right there. And I'm going to say you'll be a regular on our screen because a lot of people like what you had to say.
Well, I walked towards the old town hall with a group of my mates by my side. Looked to join up the Ulster Division. Well, they knew I was young, but I lied. But arriving in Europe, well, it hit me the reality of what I would do. I would clamor all the trench ladder when the captain his whistle he blew. Well, tonight as I lie in my dugout, well, I'm cold and encased in the mud. Well, I long to be with you, my darling. Well, to hold you and to warm up my blood. We would walk hand in hand through old Belfast, through the streets that I love, Sandy Road. But I know that this will never happen, for tomorrow to the battle I'll go. Yes, remember I'll always will love you. Tell my mom, my dad just the same. Well, I'm afraid like the lads here beside me, London and France I will surely remain. Well, I'll fight and I'll die for old Ulster, for the England and the red, white and blue. Don't disturb me, lads, I am writing to my girl back in Belfast, so true. Well, she broke her wee heart when I left her. Well, my Ulster, I'll do this for you. So I bid you good night now, my darling, for it's dark and I can't seem to write. Yes, remember the Ulster Division, for the Ulster will always be right. Yes, remember the Ulster Division, oh, the Ulster will always be right.
Yeah, the first time I heard that song, I really liked it. So I did, and again, it's about the boys going off to the First World War just over 100 years ago. You know, going to fight the biggest battle of I guess our lives, and for and on behalf of us, in order that we would have the freedoms that we do today. And here we are in 2021, facing the same thing all over again. And, you know, there's many good people throughout the length and breadth of Northern Ireland. And I'm just going to say right now, it is your absolute right, like Billy in Days of Old, as you've just heard there, but it is your absolute right to stand up for on behalf of your community, but to do so in a way that you mean no one any harm. I mean, we're not asking people to do things in a way that we cause violence or whatever, but I believe that where the real battle lies right now, and I believe this is where we could have success, is that if we hold our own politicians to account, and then we ensure that they're trailed, even kicking and screaming, to fight for our survival in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that defends, protects, and enhances the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland's place within the United Kingdom, and also the Boyne Bridge. So, Billy, would you just like to tell the listeners, as you've seen at the very, very start, there was a lady there who didn't know the history of the Boyne Bridge. So tell us, what is significant about that bridge, and why does it mean a lot to our culture, and why does it mean a lot to the people of Sandy Row, and by extension, the people of Northern Ireland? Over to you, Billy.
Well, there was an archaeological survey carried out very recently, and we responded to that survey. When I say we, it's the Transport Hub Alternatives Group. And the Transport Hub Alternatives Group is actually made up of various groups and individuals who obviously wanted to see alternatives to the Translink's plans. And of course, they were very supportive of retaining the Boyne Bridge. Don't see any necessity for removing the Boyne Bridge. Now, if I can, everything that I say has to be very much condensed, because I know we don't have all night. But the first thing that we had to deal with was to convince Translink and other stakeholders that the 1642 bridge was actually buried in the 1936 bridge, the Boyne Bridge, the railway bridge. And that took a bit of time, but I'm pleased that some professional men came on board and supported me. I remember a man called Fred Hammond who did know his stuff, and he did a lot of research. And there's very few things that I had to correct him on. But I think he was a very honest and person, and he certainly had a lot of knowledge. So we eventually convinced Translink that the bridge was there based on maps and newspaper cuttings and so on. Now, believe it or not, I would say very few people in Sandy Row, even the Orange Order, were not aware of this 1642 bridge and possibly the remains of a 1611 bridge. So once that was established, the next thing was to establish that the structure was there. It was definitely there. So they came up with...
Billy, so just something of really importance. This is for the people here. But the 1642 bridge, pre-1690, and the 1611 bridge, did you say there beforehand?
The 1611 bridge was built at the same time as the castle, where Castle Place is today. It was built at the same time for the fortification of Belfast. So you had the castle, and then it was called the Great Bridge because there was no other bridge of that size. So it was called the Great Bridge. And then when the 21 Arch Bridge was created, then the bridge at Sandy Row, the name was dropped to Saltwater Bridge, became Saltwater Bridge. Yeah. There was a number of other names as well, but Saltwater Bridge, it became known as the Saltwater Bridge, and then eventually the Boyne Bridge.
Now, just for the significance, I mean, King Billy, he landed at Carrickfergus, and he would have travelled, along, and that was the thoroughfare on his way to Drogheda. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Well, could I just say this, John? This is very important too.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen read about it has been said that King William crossed that, or assumed that King William. Well, John, I've the maps here beside me, and I can tell you there was only one way to go from the castle in the centre of Belfast. There was only one way to go, and that's round by what we call today Barrack Street, and then Durham Street. Of course, what we call Durham Street them days, and then over the Great Bridge. That's there was only other way, because the rest was all the Blackstaff River and a forest. Who's going to take an army through a forest and over the Blackstaff River when there was a perfectly good bridge? And of course, it was such a strong bridge that was able to take all that the army needed to get across. So it's nonsense to suggest that there could have been another way. So I wish the historians and people who write articles just simply would say that King William crossed the Great Bridge, full stop. And by the way, I've been asked many times, why this is the Orange Order, if this is such an important site, and the bridge is there, with King William cross, why did the Orange not cross it? And I've been asked this, and I'm an Orange man, by the way, and I said, well, I just think it's because whenever they were stopped going up the Grosvenor Road, that there was at that time that they stopped going over the bridge, but they shouldn't have. But the black still crosses the bridge. And I was talking to the district master today, yes, or today or yesterday, I can't remember. He's getting old, you know. But I was talking to the district master, and I was saying that this to him. A lot of people are saying that why did they not cross? And he says, "Well, I think we'll have to look at that again." So, and John, that site, you know, even way before there was a bridge in 1611, that would have been like a human spaghetti junction, you know, human spaghetti junction. It would have been a main crossing place. Now, that would take you way back to maybe Neolithic times, and it's not that far away from there. And in fact, you go up to Windsor Park. When they were building the houses beside Windsor Football Ground, they came across Neolithic heads, axe heads. So there's proof, evidence of human occupation in that whole area. So, and the historians will tell you that that was a medieval road way before even any bridge was created. So it was a crossing point, you know, prehistory. It was a crossing point, and then it may have been the Neolithic people who may have put some kind of a crossing there, right? They have some kind of crossing, and then when they built the castle, 1611, they built a bridge there in 1611. Now that obviously came in. We don't have records and all. I understand that. But by the time it came to 1642, that I would say that 1611 bridge went into disrepair, and a more stronger structure, a bigger structure, had to be built. So therefore, the 1642 bridge was built as the Great Bridge of Belfast, and then of course, bringing it right up to the present time. Oh, by the way, there was. The barracks not far by, nearby was a barracks, and then of course we know that even James's army probably crossed the bridge, of course retreating. There was so much, and then of course they had the first carriages to Dublin and all over that bridge. And there must have been an awful lot of stuff that maybe been thrown into the river. And there's an awful lot more stuff that can be discovered. Now, the boreholes don't do the job. It needs radar. And that can be done. Ground penetrating radar. And we have asked for that to be done because there's no sense just doing boreholing, because what happens with the boreholing is that a lot of stuff is lost. It comes up with all the water and all, and it's lost. And it doesn't identify. Now, there was a city near Rome that had this ground penetrating radar carried out, and the whole city was surveyed, and absolute detail was identified. Now that detail for the Great Bridge has not been identified. Yes, they've got the proof, and there's a stone. There's a windstone. That's one of the things that come up, right? That's one of the biggest evidence that we have of the bridge. See? So we need a proper investigation of this site, a proper investigation.
Billy, I'm just going to say here again, this is for the purpose of the live chat, and again, this is just a point on the whole thing, but I mean, I have visited the Boyne Visitor Centre down there at Drogheda on the along the Boyne River there. And if the Irish government, I'm just going to say this, but if the Irish government can spend all that money in putting in place the Boyne Visitors Centre, showing the history of the Battle of the Boyne, and here we are in Northern Ireland, I mean, we that's part of our heritage, part of our history, and here we are, and we're wrangling over and fighting over should this bridge be saved. I mean, I have my own views, Billy, and my own views is that there should be that survey that you're talking about, the X-ray, so to speak, and there also, I mean, if it's there, if it's seen to be there, in my honest opinion, it should be dug up, it should be reconstructed. even brick by brick on the site, and it should be made a go-to place for educational value for future generations, in order that history is never ever lost. So Billy, again, over to you, and you can follow on now. I'm going to ask you. There was a bridge in in the early 1600s. There was two bridges, and then the new modern structure. The underneath of that structure, which you pointed out to me that whenever we were there, that came around in what year was it? The 1930s, and Billy, also I want to ask you, were you around at that time whenever that bridge? What's your earliest recollection of the bridge?
No, I wasn't around when they built 1936 bridge, and but John, you've said it. You made a very good point there about recognition. I don't have any problem, and I think most people don't have a problem with leaving the bridge, the 1642 bridge there. It's encased in concrete. We know it's there, but there's no sense whatsoever just forgetting about it, leaving it there and forgetting about it. There has to be a major feature on the site. Now this could be an arch, but it has to be something substantial. I don't think anyone can refute what I'm about to say, but that site and the 1642 bridge is perhaps the most important site in Belfast. You cannot underestimate or overestimate. You can't overestimate the importance of that site and the link with history. Now, I do apologise for rushing, because when I say rush, I just sometimes can't get the words out. But I'm trying to.
You're no rush.
I'm trying to be brief, but at the same time to put over the importance of this site and the bridge. Now, I think that we should be demanding that a proper survey be carried out. I think we all realise that, because just having a borehole and bringing up some remains of the bridge is not good enough. It doesn't give you the outline. And apparently there was a planning condition that they needed the profile, right? Well, they haven't got the profile, but yet they'll probably just set that aside as if it wasn't said, but they needed the profile. Now, before any work is done, or any modifications, or even the demolition of the bridge, which I hope it doesn't happen, before anything happens, there must be a proper survey. Then, before anything happens, if they agree that the bridge should come down, and I certainly will oppose it right to the very end, but if that is agreed, before they touch the bridge at all, we have to demand that on that site there is something substantial, and it's all put down black and white, and we can be assured of exactly what that site is going to look like, and how the 1642 bridge is going to be recognised, and as a major feature, not just for tourists, but for us all, that we'll be able to say to the children in the future, the parents of the future, will be able to say to their children, you see that's underneath there is, and then they can relate the story. From the Old Testament, they built memorials. They built stones, and the children say, the children will say, what meanest thou by these stones? Right? But, if you take it all away, now, they're not going to flatten, they're taking the bridge away, they propose to take the bridge away, but the road will go up slightly over the remains of the 1642 bridge. So there'll be a bit of a mound, but to me, that's not good enough. We want to fight to keep the Boyne Bridge. I think the best way of preserving the site, preserving the 1642 bridge, is by keeping the 1936 bridge. Now, John, we had a meeting, what you'll call the Blackstaff Residents Association meeting, one of the members of Transport Hub Alternatives Group. And we asked for all suggestions, and we will put it down in paper. Now, there are various options. So we have 4 pages, A5. Okay. Now, we sent this to every MLA. And by the way, the final part of it says, it can't be right that there has been 3 years without, by the way, this was printed in 2020. It can't be right that there has been 3 years without the Northern Ireland Assembly to review, scrutinise and make decisions relating to the planning proposals for the Transport Hub and associated works. With such a major development, the decisions made by a civil servant, John, as a civil servant made this decision, a decision made by a civil servant would urgently need to be reviewed, Following a review, or independent of it, Belfast City Council should set up a working group to oversee all future developments. That was sent to every MLA and every councillor and put in a separate envelope. It was all addressed individually to every MLA. I need as well of, not one response, John. Yeah. Not one response. And we have been writing, I don't know, I think it's thousands of words, thousands of communications. We kept flooding the MLAs with information and I got no response. And the most recent disappointment that we received was we asked for a deputation to go along to the Infrastructure Committee. And, I have a letter here, John.
Yeah. Billy,
they won't receive us. They won't. And do you know what the tragedy is? The chairperson of that committee and the deputy chairperson are members of the Democratic Unionist Party, and they won't receive us. And John, we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere. It doesn't matter about all the arguments and everything we do and everything we say. We're not going to get anywhere unless we get our MLAs. Now, the MLAs will make turn around and say, oh, it's got planning permission. We can do nothing about it. It's up to Translink. If Translink want to change something, let Translink change it. But surely, what the MLAs could do, and what the infrastructure and the communities, by the way, department as well, what they can do is say that to Translink, I think we need a review here. We need a review because there's so many serious matters arising. And, there's going to be a crossing at Durham Street when the bridge goes away. There's going to be a crossing at Durham Street. And you're going to have thousands of people crossing this crossing. And, it's going to be an accident, black spot, possibly. Yeah. I don't know. But certainly, there's going to be accidents. There's bound to be accidents. They don't need it. It's going to be a health and safety risk. And that's only one of many, 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 many things that need to be looked at and reviewed. But when you want to go and talk to the Infrastructure Committee as a first step, the chairperson and the deputy chairperson of that committee, DUP, you just say, well, they're bound to help us. They're bound to do something for us. We mentioned this to Christopher Stalford, and he says, they're inundated with a lot of requests. Be interesting to see. I looked in one of their meetings, and I can tell you something. The Boyne Bridge and its history and our culture is more important than a lot of things have been talking up there and that Infrastructure Committee. And I'm saying if anybody's watching this and they know their MLAs, get onto their MLAs and say, what's this about not letting the Transport Hub Alternatives Group go to have a deputation to the committee? What's this? What's this all about? And I'll tell you something. If we don't convince, if we don't get the MLAs, and then the MLAs, I spoke to Jim Wells actually in the city centre about this, and when he says, "Oh, it's up to the local MLA," I says, Jim, I says, this issue is for everyone, and it doesn't just involve Sandy Row. It's our heritage, and it's not just Sandy Row. It's for everyone to get involved, and I think that's a problem, John. That's a problem. People are waiting for Sandy Row, for the MLA, or Sandy Row District, or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
why can they not realise it belongs to us all? It's our heritage.
Yeah. But Billy, again, you gotta excuse me, people. My camera's off, and I can't rectify it. I was trying to rectify it there as we were going. I think I really need to turn things off and turn it back on. But anyway, I look good in that little blue item in the middle of the screen. I can speak away and you'll still hear me. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the live chat here, where a lot of people are saying, you know, it's really, really good to hear you. And again, there's one there again from Carl Porter. Who is it that wants it demolished? Is it TransLink, and why? Well, Carl, I'm going to say, and Billy can confirm this or otherwise, but there's a lot of people that would have a vested interest in having that bridge away, because they don't want any of our culture or any of our history or any of our heritage about the place. And if those people can get offload it, well, they will do. And again, isn't it interesting sitting and listening to Billy with reference the local DUP and how it is that really that they've been found wanting in terms of trying to save this bridge. I mean, if this, I'm going to say something again, and I've already talked about the way that even the Irish government have preserved they've got a visitor centre there sitting on the River Boyne, just on the other side of the River Boyne at Drogheda there. And if they can do it, why can't we do it up here? And is our own political parties, are they not interested in preserving our history and our heritage and everything that goes with it? And really what it is that we need to do is we need to take them up. So what I'm going to do at this stage, before we'll go back to Billy again, and we're going to talk a wee bit more. Billy, as I say, look, we're in no rush, because I think we were worried at the start whether it would go on for any length of time. But I'm going to say, Billy, you could probably fill 3 or 4 hours on the depth of knowledge that you have with reference to some of the things that you're speaking about, and all very interesting stuff. And I'm going to say the live chat has really, really liked what it is that you had to say. So I'm just going to show the live chat a little picture. I'm just going to superimpose it over us, and then I'll talk a wee bit about this here, Billy, and then you can come back and you can tell us what it is that you're doing with reference and what it is that they just see now. They're cemented with love, and let me just take that Carl Port. Let me take Carl's. There you go. Sorry. Cemented with love, as you'll see there, the 3 bridges cemented together as one. The 1611 bridge, 1642 bridge, and the 1936 Boyne Bridge. That's the bridge which is there right now. And I mean, I was onto that bridge, and that bridge has a lovely metal structure, and it's in very, very good tact. So it is. So I mean, I honestly speaking, I would think that if that bridge were stripped back, and and the metal exposed, then they could make a really, really good feature of that bridge, and they could leave it on the site as a really, really good feature, adding to what it is that they're building right now. I mean, they're building a transport hub, and as I say, they're looking to just wipe away, to flatten that heritage and history as if it didn't even exist in the first place. So Billy, again, you can't speak, and you can speak over this here. So I'm just going to unmute your microphone, and you can tell people what the purpose of this little card is and what you're doing right now with them. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, for a number of years now, meetings that we have held with TransLink, they keep saying that the demolition of the Boyne Bridge is with the support of the people of Sandy Row, and that they have been engaged with the community. Now, we have asked actually for minutes of meetings and all that they supposed to have had with various groups and so on. We have never seen any minutes. As far as the Transport Hub Alternatives Group, we have been very, very open, and we have shown everything, put everything across. We even on social media, we've even asked the question, who actually wants to see the Boyne Bridge demolished? So I think the main point is that TransLink has said, and especially Chris Conway, even on BBC television, he says they've been working things through with the community, working things through. Well, it certainly hasn't been working things through with the Transport Hub Alternatives Group. So being convinced through social media and even just walking around Sandy Row, even a few years ago, I walked through Sandy Row and I stopped people and I said, excuse me, and I started talking about the Boyne Bridge and I said, do you want the Boyne Bridge demolished? No, I do not. No, I do not. I was at a meeting, John, with about 15 women from Sandy Row, all around. This is nothing to do with the Boyne Bridge, it's some community meeting. And I said, tell me this. If you are for keeping the Boyne Bridge, is that right? Yes. If it was to the economic detriment of Sandy Row to keep the bridge, would you still want to keep the bridge? Yes. These women were saying if they were disadvantaged by keeping the bridge, they would still want to keep the bridge. So that's their commitment to their heritage and their history. And I'm glad to say also that there's a growing number of young people, and young men especially, in the Sandy Row area are now becoming alarmed. And this is going on for a few months now, and they're starting to build up, and they're trying to get organised now and opposing apartments and all the rest of it. Now, I'm speaking to them, so I'm realising, I'm telling them the same thing. And some elderly men and women have said to them, TransLink saying that they are engaged with the community, and they turn around and say, well, if we could just speak to Chris Conway face to face, we will tell him that Sandy Row does not want the bridge demolished, and they're not engaging with us, they're not engaging with me. So I just said, John, by the way, Herbie Hutton, the late Herbie Hutton, late Herbie Hutton, and I feel like very emotional about it. Herbie said a lot of things. I'm not going to repeat them over here because the man's dead, and he's such a good man, and he felt he was representing the apprentice boys, the Mitchellburn Club, and he was representing the apprentice boys who were opposed to the bridge going. And he says about organising a petition in Sandy Row that TransLink should be given the message that Sandy Row says no. Well, he died unfortunately, but the thing is, I kept thinking about it, and I said, well, I think a petition, sheets of paper, I think maybe do something like a declaration. Sandy Row declaration. Sandy Row declares, and it's very important, John, that this is only for Sandy Row. Only for Sandy Row. Now, once we get this, we hope to take this up to the Assembly buildings, Parliament buildings, on the steps of Parliament buildings, and we will make a statement on the steps. I hope that we have many, many signatures. Now, we haven't finished yet, and the people are still bringing the cards back. But we've got a call today, this is Northern John, from, is it Jane Davison on? Yes. Jane Davison, who lives in the, I think, the Finicky area now. But Jane comes from Sandy Row, and she's been in contact with my wife, and she says, I want to sign that card. I come from Sandy Row. And Anne says, well, Billy says you can't sign it because you have to actually be living in Sandy Row, and it's only for the people of Sandy Row. But John, this is what the mind re-emphasised what's been happening this last number of days. People are angry that they're not being allowed to sign these cards. they're not being given these cards. They want to sign these cards. John, I feel this has to be focused on Sandy Row, but I also realise that this belongs to us all. It's all our history. Now, I am trying to battle about apartments. I have other issues. I start at 5 o'clock in the morning, John. I start at 5 o'clock. This, and there's no community grants, no grants whatsoever. This is all, everything I do is all voluntary. All the things we do is voluntary. We don't get paid for anything. We don't want paid for anything. It's all from the heart. But John, I was listening to a thing the other day. It was a gospel thing, a gospel message, and it says, you can only do so much in a day. There's things you have to leave out. But John, I don't want to leave out the rest of Northern Ireland. I don't want to. I want them to be involved with this. I want them to be able to sign something, but I don't have it. I don't have the time because I've got to fight these other battles about the apartments and get letters and get this. And you know, we need support, John. We need people to come and rally around. And by the way, can I just say this again, very, very, very sincerely? Mr. Beattie, he designed those cards for us. Mr. Beattie, thank you very much. You see, we all can't do, there's certain things that we can't do, but there's things we can do and we can do well. And Mr. Beattie, you've done a fantastic job and people love those cards. And that helps the people. And when people see those cards, they want to sign them. Yeah. Look, King William and the messages on it and all, and it's attractive. So well done, well done.
Well, Billy, you know, what I'm going to offer you here and now, and I spoke to you, indicated at the very, very start there, is that through the support of people, which helps fund what we do, we have built up a bit of money, and through selling badges and also through donations coming to this platform. So we're going to pay for a digital version of what you have there. And I'll be making, and again, I know some people on our screen there that'll be able to help us, and we'll make this a similar card available to people from right around Northern Ireland, and we'll push it out digitally, and we can also push it out into communities for people to download and even to get signatures. So yeah, so there you go, Billy. We're going to help with that, and that I mean, this is a very worthy project to become involved in. And as you know, when Isabel Montgomery had said to me, John, what about the Boyne Bridge? And she pointed out that yourself and Anne, you worked tirelessly, and you have done over the years for certain things. Well, look, you know, if we can't support you, Billy, you know, what's it all about? We can't support anyone. And this is what we need in Northern Ireland. We need ordinary people supporting ordinary people. So again, I'm appealing to people on the live chat, people that come along in the future to this platform. I mean, if you know anyone that can build us a digital form of this card, and again, we'll pop it up on the screen, please contact us. And again, I'm going to be making some inquiries tomorrow because I think I know the man that will be able to build this digitally for us, and whatever it costs, we're going to pay for that, Billy, to go around Northern Ireland. Yeah. Well, as I say, that's down to the people on our screen that has supported us. So it has. So Billy, you've been a very, very interesting man to speak to. And look, I'm going to be calling upon you regularly, I have to say, because there's a lot of things in what you've been speaking about that I do really want to talk about. And I want to be talking about even, you know, you tell me, you know, that you're a Christian, you're a born again Christian, and you know, even with things that are happening in our country right now, with reference that seemingly that if you're a Christian right now, that, you know, the way things are going is that if they continue the same way, well, you know, seemingly Christians are not going to have a place within this new dispensation the way some people would have it. So we really need to stand up, and I'm going to say this here: you don't need to be a Christian, people, to believe in and to want to stand up for Judeo-Christian values, because the cornerstone of those of Judeo-Christian values is a thing called free will. And without free will, what have you got? You've got totalitarianism, you've got dictatorship, and this is the way that things are seemingly going. So no matter whether you're a Christian or not, everyone should be standing up for Judeo-Christian values, having that cornerstone of, are you ready for it? I'm going to use a biblical term here, but choose you this day whom you will serve. At least under the Judeo-Christian values, you have the right to choose what it is you believe in and what it is that you don't believe in. Under the system that is fast coming down our line, well, we all see it. We're not going to have those rights, and this is exactly what we need to stand up for. And those sort of things can be stood up for, not just here in British unionism in our world in Northern Ireland, but right across the board. If you're a Catholic, if you're a nationalist, I mean, you should have a vested interest in ensuring that you get on with your life in a way that people did before, in a way that I grew up, in a way that Billy grew up, in a way that our forefathers, the things that they fought and died for in order to ensure that we would have seemingly right now, they're being taken away. So Billy, I would just like to go over to you and again, thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I really, really mean that. You've been a very, very interested man, and it's been shown on the live chat. And as I say, Billy's going to be our Sandy Row correspondent on Restore UK from here on in. So Billy, if you
John, you want me to just finish off, John? Is that okay? Okay, John. I just want to thank you again for allowing me to come on. And it would be amiss of me not to say something else. And there's a young lady behind me here, and John Dickson, Orange Woman of the Year. She's absolutely fantastic. You know, they're saying that don't know about every good man in my case, but they say that behind every good man is a good woman. Well, behind me, well, I'm a good man, and that's another thing, but behind me is certainly a great woman and a stalwart, and I'm proud of her. I'm proud of my wife. She stood by me. We've had rows and had all sorts of things, but in the end of the day, we feel the same about what we do, and we're committed to the cause. And perhaps it is our Christian faith that keeps us going, because we know that if we acknowledge God, He will direct our paths. And that is one of the first things we pray every day. We pray every day, and we just say to God, God, you have said, if we acknowledge Thee, You'll direct our paths. So, Lord, we ask that You will direct our paths and guide us. And we pray for all the flag protesters. We pray for all those involved in our campaigns. We can't expect everyone to live Christian lives and so on, but we expect people to have principle. We expect people to have principle and to be honest and truthworthy. And unfortunately, that's in short demand today. But John, you're doing a great job, and I appreciate what you do as well. So more power to your elbow.
Billy, thanks very much. Thank you for coming along, and thanks to Anne there in the background. As I say, I've only known you this very short time, and I have to say that if we had more Billys and Annes in Northern Ireland, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in. So, Billy, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play us out again with that little clip of the Boyne Bridge, and you and I standing at the end of the Boyne Bridge, really talking about it. So again, I'm going to be requesting in the very, very near future, Billy, I'm going to be coming along to you, and I'm going to say, look, Billy, I want you to talk about this. I want you to talk, because I know there's a lot of history from in and around that area. And again, this is something that we need to do more often, because, you know, there's characters right across our province. And before we lose these characters like Billy, we need to really be able to tell Billy's story. And again, it's like, for me, it's like I tell some of the victim stories. And what we try to do with the victim stories is that we're trying to document those stories, to have them made available for people in the future, in order that the history can't be rewritten. Well, Billy, with you and Anne in place, just having give your the account of what's happening on the Boyne Bridge, and that history can never be rewritten. So I think what you've done is you've really pushed a lot of people into action here. And again, whenever I talked about it just a few weeks ago, I really felt it in my heart that something needed to be done for that bridge, to save that bridge. And I think you had said to me within a few days you had a message from a politician wanting to meet you after that we done our first broadcast. So we must be doing something right, Billy. So we must. Billy, thanks very much again. And I'm just going to play us out here. I'm going to say to everybody, like, again, it's roughly 9:30. We came to the end of our time, but I'll be back again in about 10 minutes because I want to speak about 20 minutes worth of politics, just really talking about where we find ourselves in today in April of 2021 and what it is that's happening in our country and what it is that our politicians actually need to do. So, Billy, thanks again. Thank you. And thank you very much, Anne. And we'll see you all in 15 minutes, and we'll see Billy and Anne in the very, very near future. So whilst I try to get my ducks in order here to play us out, Billy, see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It was a morning in July in 1690. Two great armies were converging on the river Boyne. On the left you had King James of Scotland with 26,000 men. James arrived at the Boyne first and set up his great tents and cannons, and he waited. On the other side you had King William, Prince of Orange, with 30,000 men. As William rode through the narrow country lanes of Ireland on that hot sunny July morning in 1690, he was armed with the latest in artillery that day. Finally William too arrived at the Boyne and set up camp and prepared to do battle. Then at 8 o'clock in the morning of the 1st of July 1690, the Battle of the Boyne started. The fighting lasted throughout the day until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. "1,500 men were killed on that day. James fled the battlefield and William, Prince of Orange, was victorious. Sound your drum and flash your sword. Wade into King James's horde. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord, for we'll die for our Isle William. On Boyne's great shore that glorious day, 30,000 that beat their way. For Orange we fight, and for Orange we'll say, we'll die for our Isle William. Sound your drum, flash your sword. Wade into King James's horde. Watch the wind and thrust the Lord.